Welcome, Blockheads. It is January 15th, 2025. This is episode 104 of Business on the Block. This week, we're tackling the creator economy is evolving. We're going to take you through a couple of things here, why the creator economy is moving beyond viral videos and into corporate business strategy. We're going to tell you whether or not TikTok will be forced to sell this weekend. You'll get the skinny on how the U.S. is going to limit AI chip access, or at least attempt to. And we'll run you through a whole bunch of other stuff. Why Meta is ditching fact checkers, get you the Elon update, all of that and more. I'm joined as always this week by my lovely co-host, Michelle Peterson-Clark.
Hi, everyone. And you've scared Mike that he just disappeared immediately.
And apparently it's the duo this week. Mike is having some technical difficulties, but Mike will be joining us momentarily. As a quick little background, this is the Business on the Block's purpose is to give you guys a little insight into the digital business revolution that spans everything from AI and blockchain to just content creator economy. I'll even say finance at times. But the purpose of this program is to give you guys a little sounding board interaction around the business conversations that we feel should be happening but aren't. Everyone is giving you the latest AI tools. Everyone is giving you all of the insights on how to make $1 million overnight. That's not what this program is about. The purpose of this program is to have a high-level business conversation around the things that we believe are impacting the larger business landscape and how you, as a small business owner, solopreneur, creator, entrepreneur, can leverage these tools to help build yourself community, create an income, and make a business. We are joined, hopefully, by Mike Neubauer.
Now, I think that this is a precursor to Mar-a-Lago gobbling up all the internet in Florida ahead of Monday.
So, Mike, are you with us?
The best thing about that will be that Mike might not have heard me.
He's here. All right. So we're going to tackle, Mike, are you cool to hit story number one here? We'll take that as a yes. All right, Michelle, we're going to go anyway.
Are you doing the 1, 2s, and 3s? Because I'm not sure Mike's going to be able to do that today.
Yeah, Mike's having technical problems connecting, folks. So while he struggles this, we're going to take it to story number one. The creator economy is evolving from storytellers to business advisors. This is a story out of PRN News. The creator economy is shifting from a tool for publicity to an essential component of business strategy. The State of the Creator Economy panel happened at the CES 2025. This is the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. So believe it or not, they discussed the creator economy on a panel, on several panels, specifically the new roles that creators are taking on within big brands. Organizations, large companies like big B2Bs, are seeing the need for authentic connection with audiences. Shocking. Companies are rethinking the role of the creator. And the concept was, in the old days, influencers who were getting paid from brands to promote their crap. Now it's, hold on a second, these folks may be the connective tissue to the audience that actually buys our stuff. And so, Michelle, you're definitely the person to start with on this one. What do you think about the concept of the creator economy evolving, that CES was discussing this, and that the role into storyteller is becoming an important component?
So, I mean, we talked, didn't we, in our chat on Discord about the fact that, you thought it was incredible that they were actually talking about this at effectively it's an electronic show. It's actually not about content in theory.
It's about gadgets.
Gadgets. But I guess the thing that we need to think about these days is that in a growing AI world, the need to connect with real people is accelerating almost as quickly as the innovations in AI. And, the harder it becomes to work out if you're reading or viewing something that is AI or real, the more I think that the greater the need to meet in person with people or discuss on Zoom calls or Google Meets with real people. And I think that that's only going to accelerate. I really liked sorry.
No, please.
I was going to say, I really like the fact that, parts of the story talk about that, creator influencers, I guess, or people that are large in the communities for a particular product or a gadget, are meeting with CEOs or are on a council or a board. And that's given me some ideas for some clients that I work with. And, like I think that it's what we're going to see more of. But that said, we also said that, I think every business and every conference under the sun these days is talking about the creator economy, aren't they?
So I want to draw a distinction here. There's the creator, there's the influencer, and there's what I'll call the solopreneur. The creator originally was, they just made stuff online, like goofy videos off the TikTokers. The original creator is probably the Mr. Beast, right? So there's not really a business per se attached to that in the beginning. That became the influencer. Oh, hey, we can make money if we get an audience, right? So I want to build people around, like grow my audience, hack the algorithms. We all know this game. And then I can get paid. The larger my audience, the more I can charge for sponsorships. But that is now evolving into the solopreneur. And I'm going to credit a Justin Welsh or a Dan Coe or those guys, where they actually are building a business around their personal brand. And that is not the same thing. The fact that the creator is being discussed at the Consumer Electronics show, like they show off watches and like AI doodads. That's to your point, Michelle. Like it's amazing that they are even in the conversation at that big brand level. However, the reality is that we know the value of an audience, and these big companies have never been able to build an audience. They're yelled at daily, and they still don't know how to do it. And yet the creators are consistently proving the model. So I think that now you're starting to see, all right, this is the old thing where the startup eats the lunch of the big guy, and then the big guy buys the startup. That has always been the case. It's just happening with creators now.
Yeah, I mean, and certainly, we all know of businesses where, bigger companies have purchased them simply for their list, their connections with real people who read their information, people who come to their conferences, people to subscribe to their podcasts. And, that's probably been happening for a while now. But I mean, can you imagine in the days when, VHS recorders were, put at the electronic show, and there would have been nobody there talking about the people who use that other than, oh my goodness, we're going to sell a mozza of these.
Mike, are you with us right now? I have some comments.
I'm being censored before we get to the story about censorship.
There's either an Elon Musk or a Mark Zuckerberg joke here, but keep going.
It's coming. Yeah, look, I mean, when I saw this, I thought they were one and of the same. I mean, storytelling is a business, and, there's advisories about how to properly tell your story. And I do, I sort of push back a little bit about the CES reference with respect to, like, this is a hot topic. It should be a hot topic. I mean, they're there to promote hardwares and softwares that allow a platform for these to exist. And frankly, they're creating content in the process of doing that. So I think that's really what we need to just focus on. Everything that happens at those types of events is content. I mean, everybody has a phone recorder, a camera in their pocket now. I mean, back in the awesome days of CEX, I was able to take a picture of somebody in the audience and turn them into an NFT before they got off stage. That was content, right? That was creating content in some way, shape, or form. So that being said, I mean, with a lot of the stuff that you're referencing about AI, I'm still not sold on the concept that it's going to be widely accepted, mainly because I can't call a phone number now and not get frustrated when I don't talk to somebody. How am I going to be able to do that with every interaction that I have moving forward? It's going to be a whole different mindset that you have to put yourself involved in when you're a consumer now.
I want to just tell you some of the panelists and the conversations, the companies that are major features at the CES, just for comparison: Delta Airlines, SiriusXM, Volvo, Accenture. Like, these are big, large companies that are not in the creator economy space. And the topics that they have laid out, if you guys take a look at it: energy, digital health, mobility, artificial intelligence. Like, these are big things by big companies. So my point about the creator is, nothing gets sold until the people are connected to you emotionally. And
Yeah,
and
but
that's the storytelling piece.
you're factoring those people in as an airline company or as, you know, a makeup company or something. Like they have elements of their business that are social engaged as well. And there's monetary value behind that. That was the whole push for our conversations regarding NFTs, right? It is a revenue generating marketing tool, right? It's a way that you can actually expand into a separate vertical that's separate from your primary business, that links to your primary business, that is also revenue generating. And
Yeah,
in
but
this case, content creating.
there's an intentionality component to that, though, Mike. And what I mean by that is these companies famously don't really want a relationship with their customers. They just want people to buy stuff.
They don't want a relationship with their customers, but they'll hire people who have relationships with other people that can tag themselves to the brand, hence the influencer model.
But you
right?
can't fake the funk on a nasty dunk.
That's not true in social media, dude.
Yes,
Like,
it is.
everybody fakes it on social media.
No, and everybody knows.
Well, it still works. They
I don't think
still
so.
sell. I mean, there's people like I met them. I met these people, man. Like they will get a check for 10 grand to put on a dress for a TikTok reel.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But those
Okay,
days are coming to an end.
But those dresses sell out like that. Like they wouldn't have the 10,000 to send to that influencer if that strategy didn't work. There are people that still are influenced by those types of people. And whether that brand is the one directly linking to the end customer, or if they're using this intermediary filter with a nice smile and you know, a big followership, I think it's the same difference. It's content that they are paying for in order to create.
I think that we can prove that, you know, those sorts of things do work by the fact that the Donald got reelected by 76 million Americans, when there's been a lot of information on both sides about whether he's good, bad, or otherwise.
I think
Stuff,
Mike's
people talking about things that may or may not be true, influences people. That, I mean, I agree with Mike on that one.
I'm going to stick with the distinction I'll draw, but the evolution from creator to influencer to solopreneur. Like I remember I had this conversation with Joe Polizzi directly. These creators oftentimes don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs, and they are. So,
yes.
But today people are starting to say, hey, wait a minute. I think that we can build a company around this. We've got a brand going on. You know, Hot Ones just sold for $80 million, 87 million, whatever the heck it was. These guys, Marcus Brownlee, like these are people who started out as influencers and now have a business. Mr. Beast.
They're accidental entrepreneurs, aren't they?
But some of them have made the transition, and more of them are realizing now they need to. The problem is the people who are trying to be influencers, I think they're doomed. And I think the fact that these companies recognize they need a connective tissue to their audience.
I think there's no doubt.
Can't you make the argument that YouTube is one of these monster conglomerates?
Yeah, for sure.
But they're also the platform that provides these content creators to thrive.
But YouTube doesn't have a direct relationship with their audience in terms of, name me, who's the face of YouTube?
Well, you could say it's Mr. Beast.
Yeah, but who's the face of X?
Elon.
Right. That's my point.
Well,
who's
Elon
the face?
Owns
you don't
X.
like
who owns
Meta?
YouTube?
Google.
Okay, who owns Google?
It's not Larry Page and those guys anymore. It's my point is it's corporate. I agree with you, Mike. That's why I'm saying.
And that's my whole point too. So Mr. Beast gets paid by whom?
Well, that depends. Mr. Beast makes his money from multiple businesses, not from his YouTube.
Now.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Okay,
YouTube will give him a check for viewership, but that's not how he makes his money.
Well,
anymore.
He's making money that way regardless. But the point is that the platform itself is the one that's paying for him to create the content on the platform that drives more traffic to the platform. Right. So
I think
that model's over.
I think that if you look at things like, let's not take Mr. Beast, because let's face it, he is an exception. Okay. Someone like, say, Ninja, if any of you remember,
I remember Ninja
started
was that
playing
Fortnite? What was
video
it?
games on Twitch.
Right.
Okay. And, you know, I think my then 7-year-old started saying, oh my God, there's this guy on Twitch and he's fantastic. And, you know, he's got 500 people watching him every time he plays, which 10 years ago, you know, was an amazingly incredible thing. And so here was a guy in his basement, literally, that played 5 or 6 hours a night of like Halo or whatever it was that he played. Suddenly, fast forward 3 years, he's got 1 million people watching him, and he's suddenly got a business. People want to know what his setup is. What microphone does he use? What software does he use? Whatever, which he then starts to get partnerships with all of them. So he becomes an accidental entrepreneur, doesn't he? Now, when Ninja redid his home studio in his basement, like the video for that got millions and millions and millions of views because everybody wants to have a studio like Ninja, who was sponsored by Pepsi with a fridge with drinks down the side in the
But play that one out. So that would mean I want to have more money for sponsorships. I need more eyeballs. I need a larger fan base, etc. What changed and why this is different and what's forced the creator economy evolution that no one understands, the connection between the switch from the social graph to the interest graph. Now, my size of audience doesn't matter. TikTok will show my content to anyone. Instagram will show my content to anyone. LinkedIn, famously, people are pissed off on that platform because these corporates are like, well, I don't want to see those creator crap. That's because the interest graph is now running the show. So my point is, since the interest graph is what's running it all now, meaning if you like it, you're going to see it, whether you connect these people or not. People are saying, oh, I can build a business around the interest. It's going to get the distribution. So that's new. That's not that back in the days of Ninja, Casey Neistat, Gary Vaynerchuk. I agree with you. Not anymore.
It sounds like the variable that is missing from your example is the need or the call to action to subscribe, because that's no longer necessary. You're pumping out the content. The algorithm will push the content wherever you need it to. But the engagement factor that still has with the eyeballs that it reaches, whether it's your target audience or not, you're still creating that content in a business fashion, right?
Because no, Mike, it is a call. There is a call to subscribe. It's not a call to subscribe to the social platform. It's a call to subscribe to my newsletter.
Yeah, well, but the thing is, not everybody. Too, no, there's a lot of people though that, and we've talked about the rented land strategy many, many times on this show, where, if YouTube or Twitch or whoever decide that they don't like what you're doing today, and for whatever reason they turn off the faucet, is it the faucet, as you guys would say in America, the tap, we say here in Australia, when they turn the tap of the flow of showing your stuff to people off, then suddenly you go from earning $100,000 a month to zero. And because those people never thought they were running a business. So they didn't actually go, hey, I need to know who it is that's watching my stuff. I think that, we went through a phase, I think, where people started to realize that and started to do that. And now we've kind of, I reckon, gone back again, where people are just going, hey, if Nike are going to give me $100,000 to, run down the street with my video crew in these new, runners, then great. I don't care who buys them or whatever. They're giving me $100,000. I'm happy and I'm going off.
In the UK, they'd be trainers. In America, they'd be sneakers. Do you call them runners?
No, I said runners because I thought you would actually call them that. But yeah,
I'm with you. I agree with everything.
We call them sneakers here too, probably.
Michelle, you're right, and I agree, except for the fact that there's an employee mentality, and those are people that are trying to be paid by sponsorship, and there's an ownership mentality who are the entrepreneur class, and they're going to be like, yeah, no, I'm going to build my own product suite. I don't need to make my money from your product because it's still one layer removed from the end customer.
Well, we'll see what happens on Sunday when the faucet gets turned off on a bunch of TikTokers.
So actually, that's interesting. I wonder if we should go to that story.
That was the cutest segue in, dude.
Smooth as a baby's bottom. What will happen to TikTok on January 19th? Social media apps are scrambling as TikTok ban looms. So there's apparently a lot of folks are trying to become the new TikTok, but one in particular is a Chinese-owned TikTok-like app. It's used for short-form videos, and it's called Red Note. And this one is supposedly the lead horse at the moment. The Chinese Instagram, as they call it, is hailed as the new replacement for the TikTok refugees. Red Note has 300 million users. Chinese officials reportedly are discussing a sale of TikTok with Elon Musk, which everybody has denied. But in any case, there's a bunch of apps all benefiting from this, and I'll run you through them shortly. But let's get some thoughts around this. For those who don't know, TikTok is slated to be banned in the U.S. January 19th. That is this Sunday. That's unless it's sold. Mike, we'll start with you since you queued us up so nicely.
Yes, it was swing and a miss by you. We have seen this play out on several different occasions, and I guess we are in a unique scenario where we've seen these things come and go on endless times at this point. The truth is that the minute that this horse is let out of the gate, it's going to be a race to see whoever can get the most followers on this new platform and try to monetize it in this capacity. We've seen it time and time again. So this rented land concept, it's exactly what it is. It's rented land. But it's all about, at least on the onset, how can we race the next guy who was amazing on TikTok but might suck on Red Note? How can I beat him out in his game on this new platform? And again, I think that we also live in this little hype world where people will load it for the sake of checking it out, but unless it really has value, they're not going to stick around. Threads. But as this thing unfolds throughout the weekend, I mean, it's too big of a business model for it not to be sold. I just don't know if they can get it done by Sunday, or at least get the framework in place by Sunday. I'm just curious to see the reaction on if and when this does get shut off, how many people are actually going to lose their mind because they're so addicted to the way that they need to be absorbed with content from this system.
All right, Michelle, what do we think about this? What's going to happen on January 19th?
I think that if they turn TikTok off, there will be rioting in the streets.
Come on, really?
Oh, yeah. I really
don't
do.
You think that's a big mental problem?
They'll be rioting, but only for 8 seconds.
But I'm just following on from what Mike said. There's going to be a lot of people that people are addicted, right? So anyway.
There'll be a scrolling string of 30-second riots.
Yeah. Everyone will be out there dancing or whatever, and because that's how it started, and then that's actually not what it's about anymore. But
they can't take more than 30 seconds at a shot.
No, you know what we're going to do? We're going to see the riots through the asshole's phone in front of that person.
Michelle, you were going to make your point.
With the woman, as come on, do the, no, I won't, shaking her, you know what, Mike always says that. Okay, so I actually think Elon buying TikTok is a go, because it will save Twitter, because it is a money-making machine. And our upcoming Mr. President Art of the Deal elect, I think, would see this as something that he could do for his mate Elon, who will then forever be grateful and owe him for the rest of his life. I think that that's something that might happen.
Well, hold on. I think if it were the U.S.'s decision, they would definitely buy the thing. But this is China's decision. Elon's got to make nicey nice with the Communist Party here.
Well, I don't know. There'll be some. I can't see that there would be no attempts at a last minute deal, or leave it until Wednesday next week and then suddenly the landscape changes and it will no longer be a banned thing.
Okay, here's my prediction. Having spent 3 decades in finance, I know how business works. This is going to get sold. Elon's going to buy it. I agree with you 100%, Michelle. There's too much money at stake, as you said, Mike. At the end of the day, they'll do some skibbity-dibbity thing, but it's going to end up being TikTok stays up and running. It's in the hands of Elon Musk somehow, some way, which I think Twitter is going to be just fine. And it's X, by the way. Twitter's gone. But I think that the combination of, this is like, you can't be McDonald's or Burger King, so you end up being the next 4 in a row packed together as KFC, Pepsi, whatever the heck it is, Yum brands. I think that
burger.
We're going to see brand number 4 through 7 competing as a group is what's going to happen here. So X, becomes TikTok, becomes whatever else. Because if you guys, Mike, to your point, there was all, even back after Vine, back in those days, we lived through Clubhouse, Be Real, Mastodon. Like they come and go.
MySpace. Yeah.
Right. And you're correct.
Threads.
But every now and again,
Threads.
one has such weight and really success. And TikTok is one, obviously, that it's not going to go away. It'll just transform into something else, but it never goes away.
Well, Snapchat was the former TikTok until they didn't protect their IP and it was stolen by everybody. So, but you know, where are they at now? But
And
are you
I think I was just going to jump in to say that I think there's a distinction we need to make here, because it's not going to be turned off on January 19, even if the decision was that it had to be sold, for example, because we're waiting for the decision of the court, right? It'll still be on people's phones. It'll just disappear from the app stores, and it will be fine until an update's required. That's when the next problem will come, which could be a week, 2 weeks, 2 months, which would mean it won't instantly be turned off on January 19, which allows the Trump administration, when they come in, to actually craft a narrative or a story or do what they need to do to make Elon be able to buy it.
What's not being discussed is, we all know the reason they want to shut this thing off is because the Chinese Communist government has access to too much information on Americans. That's the underlying argument. And yet,
well, it's more about the information that's pumped out in the algorithm to Americans.
It's both. But my point is, either way, we'll go with your argument, Mike. So what's being pumped out of the thing, propaganda, et cetera. No one has a problem with the Americans running the American thing. They just have a problem with the Chinese running the American thing. You know, like propaganda is what comes out of these machines, or what, you know, information leakage that we don't even know about based on geolocation and what are they pulling from your apps. That's not in part of the conversation. Like it's concerning to me as a privacy advocate that these things are dangerous enough that we can ban them, but it's okay if our own governments are doing it. And that's respected to every country.
Well, I mean, again, there's limitations to everything. And I'm with you on that privacy bandwagon. You know that. So like, I look at this as the most invasive social media technology that's ever existed. I mean, you know, it incorporated image recognition software for things that are just not even in the viewport. They have access to all of your apps, all of your search histories, everything you've done. They can actually link into whatever content you're absorbing or creating. But to your point about what you made earlier about they know they're not the best number one or number two. Are you familiar with the Dr. Pepper story?
No, tell me.
Okay, so Dr. Pepper learned very early on that they could not compete with Coke and Pepsi, right? So what they did instead was they partnered with both of them. So Coke built all of these manufacturing facilities around the country and then ultimately the world. Pepsi did the same. Dr. Pepper was like, look, can we just make our stuff in your facility? So now they have the biggest footprint of manufacturing of any soft drink because they manufacture everywhere, but they have zero overhead because they're leveraging whatever they paid for with Coke or Pepsi. The point is that they knew very fast that they were not going to be number one or number two, and they can either piss away all their money in trying to become something that they know they won't, or they can figure out a different strategy that keeps them in the playing field, maybe not number one or two, but reduces their overhead operational costs, but keeps them in the conversation of top three.
Right. That's right. And that's a genius move. And that's exactly what will happen here. Some version.
Again, to your point, is it the U.S. government's job to regulate the content that these social platforms put out there? I mean, if you ask the Chinese government, that's what they do, right? That's what I was talking about the algorithms. You know, the feed that certain kids get, that certain people get at different times of the day are regulated and, you know, specific, based around a consumer regulation algorithm that the government has in play with TikTok in China. Like, kids will not get the ass shaking videos; they'll get math problems, right? They'll get science experiments that are happening on their algorithms. Versus here, where it's just, you know, wild, wild west circus.
Free for all. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. I like the sound of that.
But that's not going to change either, right? And
So
let's not
they
forget
get Albert
else.
Einstein and we get Kim Kardashian. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's basically.
We have neglected another important point. You know, we keep bringing up, or at least you guys keep bringing up Trump and whatever his administration will or will not do here. TikTok is a competitor for him. He actually owns a social platform. So what he does may or may not influence or benefit his own private businesses, but I don't think he's going to rush to really care about this transaction. I think his focus is really just to get it out of China's hands.
I agree with that. His comment was he'd rather not see it shut down. This is not an official government policy. It's just Trump being Trump. He's okay with the thing. He just doesn't like it being in Chinese hands. Which
I don't have a problem with.
Right. Yeah, I agreed. So we'll see what happens. That'll happen on Sunday. I think, like I said, too much money. At the end of the day, politics aside, there's a lot of money involved in this, and that deal somehow mysteriously, miraculously happen when there's that much money at stake.
All right. Prediction.
I got one more. Oh, okay, and then I've got a point.
Mike's prediction first.
Elon and Zuckerberg team up, and they both buy it, and it's available on both X and Facebook.
They don't like each other.
Doesn't matter. It's business. It's
Michelle, prediction.
Okay, well, we'll write that down for predictions then. We'll come back, what is it, next week or the week after, and update you on that one. One interesting thing I found in this story, which I didn't know, Oracle host TikTok in the US, all their data and all of that, when almost everyone we know and you talk to is on AWS, which is Google. So I thought that was an interesting point. And one of the comments in it, in the story, is that if it was turned off, then people think the Oracle stocks will go down because of it.
That's interesting.
100% it will.
I remember, I think they originally, when they were first accused of being, spying on Americans, they ended up moving their infrastructure on the U.S. side onto Oracle. But I don't know. I didn't know that there's that's interesting, actually. Yeah, Oracle would definitely be impacted in some way by this. I agree with that. All right. I'm taking us to the third story. Biden final AI crackdown. With just 1 week left in office, President Biden's administration has announced a 168-page framework to restrict the export of U.S.-made AI chips. The goal here is to keep AI development under U.S. control. His proposed rules split countries into 3 groups, so the world is divided up. There are U.S. allies who will have full access to the AI chips, U.S. rivals who will get none and like it, and the rest of the world, which will get a limited amount, and he'll determine that as we go. They've got some rough amounts to begin with. It's more detailed than that, obviously, but basically it's a proposal that would hurt NVIDIA, who makes these chips, or at least the primary ones. And so NVIDIA is very much strongly against this. A lot of people are saying it's not the U.S. government's place to say who you can sell your stuff to. But thoughts around this? Michelle, we'll start with you as the non-American. It'd be nice to hear a perspective outside the country. What do you think about this?
What I think about this is an interesting thing. I mean, in Australia, when an election is called, generally the government moves into caretaker mode, and they actually can't really do very much because they're not allowed to impact the next administration coming in. So I thought that it was an interesting thing, but folly, really, because, at 12:01 on January 20th, the new president can say, yeah, that's going, and it's dead. So this 120 days of public consultation and all of this stuff, I just think that I don't think it's going to go anywhere, and it'll just disappear into the ether with all the stuff that's going to happen by having a new administration. Mike,
what do you think about this?
This is one of however many things this guy is doing about lighting matches and throwing it on his way out of the office. But regardless, I mean, if you want to take the business side of this for a second, you think Trump is going to limit the U.S.'s ability to make money on foreign transactions?
No, I don't think he will either.
So, regardless on where all this ends up, he has made it clear that not only crypto, but AI is going to be a focal point of development, both with the assistance of, people like Elon and obviously some US based manufacturers. Chips are always, this is the new currency right now, right? Like, this is why everything is going down or potentially going down in Taiwan. Taiwan is a big chip manufacturer. These things, in conjunction with the quantum computing advancements and some of the energy resurrection of nuclear power plants that we've talked about on this show, all of these things are going to come around and really tell the same story at the end of the day. The AI development is not slowing down. And if we can monetize on it, Trump is going to be the first one in line to say the U.S. needs to get paid for it.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like... Go ahead, Michelle.
I think that the security angle is probably something that people around him might advise him about. But how you manage that while not restricting trade, I don't know.
I think they're treating these things like military secrets, and maybe appropriately so. They are being treated like weapons, and maybe appropriately so. So if Raytheon wanted to export, Minuteman missiles, that would be a problem. The U.S. government would definitely regulate that. And
Yes.
I think that we're in that category of potential weaponization of tech. Whether you agree or not, I don't know. I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm just saying that's how it's being viewed. The U.S. government clearly has drawn the line and said, we want to constrain this. But
Well,
Mike,
Biden has said that. So
right. Mike, to your point, Biden is not in charge anymore.
No, and he hasn't been for a long time.
Well, but that aside, it's a proposed rule set that Trump can change or not change. And for those who aren't in the country here in the United States, there's been this little back and forth battle going on, these nitpicking where one of our former presidents, Jimmy Carter, has passed. And so the flags are at half staff in our country in mourning. However, because Trump is being inaugurated, the flags will be kept at half staff through inauguration. Biden is working hard to make sure the flags don't go up. Trump is saying that needs to be go. So this is gone back and forth. It's silliness. But this is one of those other things, I feel, where the Bidens have come out and said, there's going to be all these rules now. We won't be here to enforce them, but we'll see.
Again, that's one of 1,000 that he's done in like the last, week or so. And look, I've heard more legislation and regulation out of this guy in the last 5 minutes of his presidency than any other time so far.
Oh boy! Before we go political, I'm going to ask my colleagues that Don,
I was going to say, this is like when mum goes out and says to dad, the kids are not allowed to have ice cream. And as soon as she goes out, he goes, come on, kids, let's have ice cream. And don't tell mum when she comes back.
I am
Speaking of Biden,
I am totally that dad. All right. I'm going to ask you all to don our favorite piece of outerwear. We're entering, this will be the first conspiracy corner for 2025. Can't get my hat on straight here.
Do we not have our little intro anymore?
We are doing the intro right now. I want to make a big deal about this. In our inaugural conspiracy corner for 2025, this one will be about none other than Mark Zuckerberg. Meta.
I want to know why Mike bit his hat before you talk about that story.
I had to open a new one.
Meta is ending.
A new one. Oh.
Fact-checking is ending for Meta. Meta is ending its third-party fact-checking program. They are lifting restrictions around, quote, topics that are part of mainstream discourse, end quote. They're also dropping many of their diversity initiatives. The company is, this is not in the article, but seems to be coming in line with the political, the arrival of a new sheriff in town. Let's just say that. So thoughts around this one, Michelle, we're going to save you because I know where you're going to start, but Mike, you can lead us off here. What do you think about this? Do we believe Zuckerberg? What was the point of this in the first place?
Which way is the wind blowing?
You checking the wind?
I don't believe this at all. And frankly, the first line of the article is even more bullshit. Google searches on how to cancel or delete Facebook is trending now because they say they're going to remove fact checking. Yes, because people are eager to be censored. Most ridiculous article I think I've read in a long time. But regardless, where Facebook sits, again, desperate company looking for desperate attention. He actually went on Rogan and threw the entire Biden administration under the bus. Basically called them out for all sorts of different things that they illegally asked him to do or sort of made him do. Again, I don't trust this guy for a second. I don't trust his company even more. Instagram is America's original TikTok. So, you know,
Hold on a second, Vine, but keep going.
It wasn't bigger than Instagram. I just, you know, I feel like this is a saving grace, not just for the company, but for him personally. I think that he knows that there have been issues that his company sort of dove down, and it almost had a Bud Light effect on them. It's just that, you know, they're obviously so big that it's hard to officially cancel them entirely. I just don't know if a resurrection by saying the right things is going to change anything. People say their algorithms are better now. That's great. That's the way it should be. But I also want to point out, this is not the first time they've done this. They ran an entire campaign several years ago. I remember it vividly. It was like a video of a kid crawling across the floor, and it was your buddy's kid who just learned how to crawl. And it's like, do you remember seeing content like this? Well, we want to put that content right back into your feed. And, you know, it's about you. It's not about the business. It's not bullshit. That's the bottom line. They need to get paid. They need sponsors to pay for the target placement and for the target audience in order to identify who they want to get their products in front of. That business model is not going to change. So the fact-checking component of this is just a ploy, in my opinion, to keep people engaged with the platform.
Michelle, what do you think about this?
Well, I'm really surprised that Mike said that he doesn't believe anything in the first sentence, because it said people are cancelling and deleting Threads accounts as well. And I would have thought he would have been on that bandwagon. But
you gotta be on Threads to cancel Threads. And it's bullshit.
Both people on Threads are considering canceling.
Yeah, look, I think that Mark needs to send out a few AI pictures of him that make it looking a little bit better than that particular picture. I think that's the best really awful. Yeah. if that's Facebook's AI, then it's not doing a great job.
That screen come on your side.
Yeah. Look, I don't disagree with a lot of what Mike says about Facebook at all. I think that there are people that, it is still the place where you go to find out if your cousin's daughter's child is, born, or, when elderly relatives die and all of that kind of stuff. It's still the place that you go. And you might have to go to people to find their information. But this is just, this will be the first in many people jumping on the what does Donald Trump administration think this week bandwagon. So whatever they start to do, he's a businessman. There are plenty of business people in the US who know that in order to survive the next 4 years, they need to jump on the Trump train. And that's what they'll do.
So I'm not going to go too far away from that. I agree with you, Michelle. This is number one about political survival, right? It's much like the politicians get in line with whoever's in charge. He happens to be a CEO, but it's the same concept. Number two, I don't think it's about pay, Mike. I think it's about liability. They don't want to, there's lawsuits potential. If I was a medically accredited doctor and had my information stymied around COVID, I can sue now. Like it would have gone nowhere in those old courts, but these courts are pro-Trump, et cetera. So I think Mark Zuckerberg knows this. So
why would he admit it then?
No, he's getting into, this is what they call in marketing positioning. They're getting ready to be like, I'm the good guy. I'm on your side. Like, I think that we should.
It wasn't us, it was them.
Right. Like, I don't care your politics. There has been both sides, by the way. This is both sides have been censored. It depends on which platform you want to pick, right? Elon's censoring the left, Zuckerberg censoring the right. It doesn't matter. Either way, who's the bossy boss coming in right now is going to be Donald Trump. Love him or hate him, it's clear which side he's on. So all the guys on the quote-unquote wrong end of the stick here, Mark Zuckerberg, it's the same way. Musk I wouldn't say he tried. He kind of like stuck his thumb in the eye of the SEC all that time, so he didn't really play this game. Would have been smarter if he did. But
What do you mean he
Zuckerberg is
didn't play
doing.
this game? The whole reason why we have a game to still play is because he went out and bought Twitter.
No, but I mean turning tables.
Jeff-
Like, let me rephrase that. Elon stuck to his guns for good or ill. Mark is doing the smart, practical thing of, okay, I can see how this is going to go. The political winds have shifted in America. He knows it.
Yeah.
To be honest, and look, I'm in conspiracy corner, so I can actually do it. But I'm gonna defend Zuckerberg for a second.
Hold on, my hat's not working right. It sounded like you said you were going to defend him.
I'm gonna defend him for a second. Yes.
Oh, I'm getting an electric shock here.
Unless, of course, he knew something well in advance that most of us didn't, or most of us did, I guess, but like some of us didn't.
The Facebook
really
files? Is that what you're getting
well,
at?
he didn't necessarily participate in the same capacity as he did in 2020.
What are you talking about? Yeah, censorship was censorship.
In this election cycle, there was it wasn't as bad as it was in 2020. And obviously COVID was there. There was a lot of other issues too. But he was a much bigger player in the political arena in 2020 than he was in 2024.
Oh, he kept a lower profile. I agree with that. But the platforms are still censoring.
Well, they've had these quote unquote fact checkers who were just nothing more than a liability arm of whatever they were doing anyway. But again, who was pulling the puppet strings on that? He threw them under the bus. Now, I'm not saying it was entirely Biden's administration. Obviously, they had to play ball as well. But if they didn't, and, say Kamala won or Biden in a re-election won again, where would he be with his company if he wasn't willing to continue to play ball like that?
But if Kamala had won, do you think Zuckerberg would be making this fact-checking change up?
I don't believe so, which is why I started my initial analysis of which way is the wind blowing.
I see.
Right? So
I agree.
I again, to your point, I agree with you, and this is, again, me fixing my hat to make sure it's still fitting. I agree with you that, yes, he is playing the cards correctly for liability. That's a big, big component of all of this. But I also feel that the admission opens him up more to the liability suit more than anything, right? Because now he can easily point the finger at pharma. He can point the finger at government. He can point the finger all across the board and just say, we are this independent Section 230 platform that has no liability. It's just whatever other people put out there. And, we had this independent company. Go blame them now. They're the ones that said we shouldn't have it up here, right? So, again, this is him playing that side of the fence right now, which is why, again, I don't trust him. I don't believe much of the content in this article, let alone where this all ends up. Will fact-checking end? Yes. Will their algorithm shift? Yes. Until the next time they decide to shift them.
I agree this is a concern. The one thing for those who don't know their history, every time there's a coup in any country, they don't take over the palace first. They take over the newspapers first to control the information. And these
TV
are the
stations, radio.
Right. So for now, it seems like, okay, great. Political winds have shifted. This is just going to be an ongoing tug of war that all citizens of all countries on any platform need to be aware of. It's a factor.
Well, this brings us back to the last story, right? Or was it 2 stories ago? I don't know. But the information highway, the super highway, is shifting drastically to AI. And there's going to be very limited controls about what a government can censor and not censor about the development of this technology. So with that, they're trying everything they can to still control those newspapers before it just gets out of hand and people can access information that is completely counter to the narrative and bullshit that they keep spewing to us.
Well, to keep this on a lighter note, I want to just throw a quick unrelated comment here since we're in Conspiracy Corner. Do you remember the article, the story we did a few weeks back on the Willow chip from Google?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So Google's building the quantum AI thing. There's news out now that if you get time, it didn't make the cut here, but maybe next week, where it's getting information not from our internet. And the science,
I read that.
The scientists are saying they don't really know where it's getting this information from, a lot of it. They have to consider the possibility that it may be pulling it from an alternate dimension. I kid you not.
Star Trek.
Right. So anyway,
alive and well.
right. That's
It's Dr. Spock. That's what I say.
That's going to do it for this week. Let me give a rundown of what we got here. We'll get some final thoughts here. Story number one, creator economy is evolving from storytellers to business advisors. I wanted to talk more about that, and we didn't get a chance to. Storytelling. Number two, TikTok, January 19th ban. If something doesn't happen before this weekend, it's gone. And three, Biden's final AI crackdown as they have a whole bunch of new regulation proposals. And of course, Mark Zuckerberg is ending fact-checking at Meta. Mike, Michelle, we'll start with you, Michelle. What do you think was the most important takeaway from the week? What do we need to keep an eye on?
I think the irony of that is that people assumed that there was originally facts on Facebook.
Good argument.
I think that it is like 99% guaranteed that Elon will buy or have a deal with someone for TikTok.
Interesting. Mike, what do you think our big takeaways for the week are?
I mean, I hate when we have episodes fully dedicated to social platforms because, frankly, I think that, again, it's the same story just with a different title on it most of the time. So the biggest takeaway for me is the creator economy and the storytelling component. Mark, this is one of your predictions. You think that this is going to be a massive piece of this year and how people are going to monetize different bits of content. And I'm curious to see how that plays out. But this is a good start, only a couple of weeks in for validating your prediction.
So I cannot emphasize enough how much I think that's an important story. Creator economy evolving. I actually am going to be taking a chunk of my business and putting it towards that. Just for those who don't know, Invictus does a bunch of like brand building for executives in finance. I'm really building programs right now for the solopreneur entrepreneur because I feel like whether it's forced agentic workers where people can't get jobs or people just want out of corporate, I really think the creator economy evolving becomes just a new entrepreneurial underclass is going to just grow.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us. As always, Business on the Block comes to you every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Purpose of this program, the digital business revolution review, basically, of everything that you need to know during the week. Business conversations that we don't believe are happening that should be around AI, blockchain, how you can be growing your small business, and of course, social media. So we thank everyone for the support. We shout out to Bolt as always, Jamal especially. Thank you out there on LinkedIn for the support on that. Final comments, thoughts from Michelle or Mike?
It's the future here in Australia. So it's 8:30 a.m. on Thursday. So we're past Wednesday. We're way ahead of you guys.
Talk about quantum. Mike?
Follow us on Threads.
Cheers.